before I sat down, I was actually on my phone just looking at Twitter, not even thinking of what I was going to ask you.
I love it though.
But I feel like that's going to be kind of the way this podcast grows. It's like,
that's how you get genuine answers and information and better questions.
Right. I'm going to interrogate you. I'm going to ask you some hard questions because Nate interviewed me a couple weeks ago and he asked me some questions that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. So let me ask you first, who is Jeff Clayton? Tell me about him.
I would say he is a 22-year-old, stressed out, sleep deprived, but driven and motivated serial entrepreneur.
Serial entrepreneur, which means you invented a cereal brand? What does that mean?
I just, at like the simplest form of it, I just like building cool shit. And I've been doing that since I was like really little. Like as I've told you, like the story of like my first business, which is like my favorite business model ever. I'd love to talk about it after this, because I think like it can show people that a lot more is possible than what they think. But yeah, so like just building cool shit that works. And honestly, like that was going fine for a long time up until, or not a long time, 3-4 years, but up until maybe about like a month ago when it started bothering me that yes, like the things that I've built, they make money, they're cool, they solve like problems, but in the overall grand scope of things, they don't like provide real like true value to the world. Mm-hmm. And like I know I'm 22, so I'm young, but I guess like it just hit me that like I'm putting so much time into work. I'd say recently about 14 hours a day, like 6-7 days a week. And with all that time, all of that, like that's a lot of time for no true value to come out of it. So now, as I told you yesterday, I'm starting to work on like a nonprofit that I'm really excited about. And that like kind of gave me that sense of like, okay, like I know what I can do now to give back, and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary when you make your entire life about making money and then realize that there's probably more to life than just acquiring currency.
Yeah.
Right. You get comfortable. Yeah. I think we put pretty in depth with this like at Farm and Craft, but yeah. So, and now you're working on the nonprofit. We can talk about it more if you'd like to a little bit later on. I know we talked about it a lot, but I want to know what you like. Do you think that regardless that people that are listening to this now maybe they should still follow in the same footsteps as you, like maybe go and work on getting money? Or do you think people should stay in college? Or how do you think about college? But what do you think people should do? I have a lot of 18-year-olds watching me, and even like 22-year-olds, our age, but in terms of experience or just where we're starting out, what do you think they should do?
So I think it's case by case. So I don't think college is meant for every single person, and I don't think college is bad for every single person, regardless of the price, whatever it is. So just in the same sense where I don't think, just as you know, anyone could be an entrepreneur. It seems very glorious from the outside, right? Because you have people like Gary Vee, all these people coming up, popping off on social medias, and people are like, wow, entrepreneurship, like this is like this super cool thing, not realizing how much work it takes. And like, even if you do work that 14 hours, just because you stop working then doesn't mean your brain just like shuts off for like that stress from work. And I think that's a lot more than what people think. Entrepreneurship, I think like the right person to not go to college is going to be someone who's good at taking calculated risks and definitely outgoing, and they need to be like sure of who they are. I was just like answering some questions for someone earlier, in like a brief interview, and they asked me what like separates me from my competitors. But what I told them was like, in entrepreneurship, the most important thing to realize is like the competitors that you should be focusing on is yourself, and more specifically, your own self-doubts. Just making sure that you're constantly improving upon your past self, and your current self. So, you're just constantly leveling up, because that's the best you can do, right? It makes no sense for you to look out at what other people are doing and focus on that when you just need to be bettering up like yourself. So I think if you are, because entrepreneurship is hard. So you need to be very sure in yourself, and you need to actually believe in yourself, because if you don't, you will be crushed. I mean, you will be just chewed out, and spit out. Because there's going to be so many things that are going to fail. Like so many things are going to break, fail, not go your way. Everything's going to be 5 times more expensive than what you originally thought and take 5 times as long. So that's going to get to you. So as long as you are confident in yourself, your abilities, you're not too risk adverse, you take calculated risks, that's when I think like skipping college might be the right move. Now, you know, if you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, you can't just drop out of high school and just start operating. So
can't watch YouTube videos on that.
Yeah. So it's all, so I'd say it's definitely case by case. I know a ton of just brilliant people that have never gotten below straight A's. Give them a problem, they'll solve it, right? They're studying theoretical physics, stuff like that. Absolutely brilliant. But they can't run a business. Like that's just not them. Mm-hmm. And they know that's not them. So I think the most important thing is to like realize what's right for yourself and then just focus on that from there.
Got you. So is business something you're going to do for the rest of your life, or do you plan on having some insane lucrative investment strategy and then making a bunch of passive income and then doing something else?
So I plan on building businesses up until maybe 28 or so, focusing on building like a multifamily real estate portfolio until then. But after that, I'd love to like angel invest, different things like that. But, honestly, like after 28, like I plan on working pretty damn hard until then. So I think like I'll need a good like 5-year break from like building companies. But I mean, who knows? Like if you asked me 5 years ago,
what are you going to do for 5 years, man? 5-year break. What are you going to do for 5 years?
Dude,
you're going to be bored as hell.
I just want to get like a bunch of friends and family and just get like a massive house somewhere and just go live out there with everyone for, you know, bring all the friends
like in the city or off the land or what?
Like on a beach somewhere nice.
Oh, okay.
And this not for 5 years, of course. This
not
is
not too close to everyone, right? Like
not
more private.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just need to take like some time off then. I think you could understand that.
Oh,
like,
bro.
Just escape the noise.
Everyone like our age right now, not everyone, but most people, that's like their goal. They're like, okay, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I'm going to go buy land and probably have like all my friends and my family, my community just away from all this other fucking bullshit going on in the world. It's funny how like that's kind of all what we want.
Yeah.
At the end.
But yeah, I mean, like I don't know. That's the plan right now. I'm sure it's going to pivot 180 degrees like it always does. But, you know, that's the goal. So we'll see where we are in 28.
Okay. Well, good luck to you, man. What's something that you're most proud of in your life aside from business?
Aside from business.
Right. You could give me your business too if you'd like, but aside from business.
Oh, I'd say absolutely like my word. Like my word means a lot. Like when I tell you something, like there's no questions about it, no matter what's signed, like that's what's going to happen. And that's like something that I really, really pride myself on. I'd say like my biggest quality, like over above that would just be like empathy. Like I think I'm very empathetic. And that helps a lot in entrepreneurship because I think you could understand people a little bit better. But your word and like your trust takes a long time to build up. But you can lose that in a second. Mm-hmm. I mean, 1 second. It is so easy to lose. People don't know that, and people don't realize that. So I think they tread those waters like very lightly, and it causes them to like slip up here and there because they realize, you know, oh, I could probably do this and get away with it, not realizing like the true effect of what that means when you go back on your word or stuff like that.
So you place a lot of importance on being very precise in your speech and always following through.
Yeah.
Like promises that you make.
Yeah.
Where did you learn to do that? Why did you decide that was important for you?
So that was all from my dad. My dad is like, he's the most leisure but most strict person like I've ever met. And for example, growing up, people thought it was ridiculous. I had no curfew. I had no nothing. I could go wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted, like from 12 years old. Like people could sleep over. I can go sleep over on school nights. But if I ever lied, I mean, I'm talking if I lied about like, did I touch this plant, I would lose everything. Like, I mean, I would lose everything. Or if I was disrespectful. So like, if I was disrespectful or if I lied, I would lose everything. But other than that, it was good. And of course, my dad would make me do yard work, right? Hey, like we need to get this tan bark in the garage. Like just go do that. Or we need to get this tan bark to the front yard. And with that, I remember like the first time I kind of half-assed it, right? You know, yard work, hot summer day, like, yeah, okay, it's done. And he's like, I need you to always remember that, like, whenever you do something, you put your signature on it. Your signature's on that forever. So do you want your signature being on this shitty work right here? And he's like, if you told me that you're going to do this, that's what you do, right? You can do above that if you want, but regardless, like, you deliver on what you said you were going to do at the absolute minimum. And he's like, if not, that's one thing that, like, you're going to lose your trust and I'll never trust you again. And so, like, he pounded that in from like an early age.
How old were you? Like 5 or something?
Dude, no, I was probably like old enough to do yard work. So let's say like 11, 12.
Okay. What a valuable lesson.
Yeah.
I like the idea of giving a kid a lot of freedom like that, and then only focusing on what's really important. Is lying, respect, and then also, you know, like, not being a lazy bum. Like,
yes.
Teaching him how to work hard, and also having discipline, but not being like disciplined about the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a parent, if you're gonna say, okay, go to your friend's house, but you have to be home at 10, and it's not like for any particular reason, it's just like an authority move.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't think kids are dumb. Like, kids certainly are dumb, but like, I think that they will pick up and they learn quick.
Yep.
And so, like, they could probably sense the difference between your parent being authoritative for an important reason versus a non-important reason, and they would know, like, okay, why? Like, I ask questions, why? Like, because I said so. Okay, well, now I know it's bullshit. So it's like, I actually really like that, and that actually opened up my mind a lot, because I've been thinking about how am I going to parent my kids. I think that's the hardest thing I'll ever do.
I mean, yeah, it's not like there's a course on it, you know, like,
yeah,
how to be a great parent. Yeah,
exactly.
That, and I guess one thing that I forgot to add in was no drugs or alcohol at all.
Really? Under any circumstance?
Under any circumstance.
I've heard some people saying, like, if you're going to smoke, like, smoke in my house, but I don't necessarily agree with that.
Oh, if I walked in and I lit, like, if I sparked like a joint in front of my dad, was like, hey, Dad, like, this is for a safe environment. Oh my gosh. Like, I would get my shit beaten for sure. But in the right thing. And like, his ideology behind that was that, you know, like, you're a young kid. You have all of this freedom that, like, I give you, right? You have no curfew, you have no this. And he's like, you know, like, you have my credit card, right? You're fucking spending out of daddy's money, like, as a teenager, all this stuff. And if you have all of that and you still need to resort to drugs or alcohol to have fun, there is something seriously, seriously wrong in your life. And that's what really, really stuck with me. So he was, my dad's an absolute beast. He was a Navy SEAL for 8 years, fully self-made. After the SEALs, he went to Silicon Valley and just started dominating in tech. And one of the things that he, like, taught me, because I asked him, like, you know, like, what's, like, did you smoke weed? Did you drink? Did you do drugs? And what he was saying was that, like, you know, in the SEALs, like, he's probably skydived, you know, scuba dived, blown shit up,
Sure.
Shot a ton of guns, gone everywhere. And he's just like, at a young age, like, when you have all of this capability, you're at the best physical shape that you'll ever be in, right? And, you know, you have money, you have freedom, all this stuff. If you have all of that and you still need to resort to substances to have fun, something's wrong with your life, because there's so much cool shit out there that like, the last thing you should ever need to resort to is drugs or alcohol for that.
Yeah. So, and I would assume that you probably credit most of your, like, ability to be productive right now in life is probably because of the way you grew up. Like, you would say your parents were pretty strict?
Yeah, I would say that, and on what hard work actually is. So what 100% effort is, because a lot of people, I don't think, understand that. Because I always thought of it, you know, like, my dad would be like, hey, why'd you get a C on this test? And I'd be like, hey, look, I studied really, really hard for it. 'Cause I studied pretty hard for it. You know, I studied 80%. And he's like, okay, well, let's say 100% is every single day you're in the library for 12 hours. That's 100%. So now what percent did you actually study? I was like, oh shit, like, maybe like 20, you know, 20%, if that.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like, always talking about, like, 100% effort is something that most people can't comprehend. And this guy, David Goggins, I think, or it's Jocko Willink, who says, like, once you get to where you literally cannot push any harder, that's like 40% of your true capability.
I remember hearing that somewhere.
And so learning, like, what 100% effort actually is and what that means has definitely, like, altered my view on what hard work is. And I don't think hard work should be glorified. Obviously you need smart work too. But I definitely think people can work harder than what they think they can.
I agree with you. I think the self-limitations people have on themselves is a massive wall that they are building in front of themselves. So your dad didn't grow up wealthy then? Wealthy.
No.
He was in the SEALs.
Yeah. So yeah, he grew up in like middle of like bumfuck South, like Oxford, Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, was not well off, and he wanted to sort of get out of that like loop that he was stuck in there. Where you're just born, you're raised, you just work there, you have kids, and it just repeats.
Yeah.
He wanted to get out of there, and he heard that there was hot girls in San Diego, but he had $0. And at 18, he was like, in his family, were kicked out of the house. So he graduated high school. His graduation present from his family was suitcases. So he packed them, and he wasn't going to take on student loans. So he's like, I'm going to join the military. Mm-hmm. And then somehow ended up, becoming a SEAL like right after that. And then obviously fell in love with it and was there for a while. But it was a mix of like him and my mom's side too. So my mom's side also came from nothing. So I'm half Japanese. My mom's side is the Japanese side.
Oh.
And obviously my family had to immigrate at some point. So it was about 3 generations back. My great grandpa came from Japan with like $14 when he was, I think, 16 years old, not speaking any English, not knowing anything. And he knew how to farm though. So he went to someone with a farm and said, hey, I'll work your land for free. Just give me a place to stay. And okay, great. So he's doing that. And then after a little bit of that, he's like, hey, okay, like I'll work all your land for free. Just let me have like an acre to grow my own stuff. And I'll still work all of your stuff for free. So, okay. Fast forward a few years, he owns that farm. He bought it out.
That's hard work.
Fast forward another 10 years. Now my family owned, or he at the time, because I wasn't even born yet, multiple farms throughout Central California and expanding fast. And so this is someone that came in with literally nothing. Like if like there couldn't be less than that. No English, no money, no nothing, and built that up and then just kept growing and growing. And one thing that he figured out was when the Great Depression hit, he figured out how to package lettuce and ship it. So we were the first people to ship produce. So because of that, a lot of his competitors, he was able to buy out for cents on the dollar because they weren't shipping produce yet. So he was able to expand really, really fast with that, kept that growing, and sure enough, then comes World War II, right? I'm not sure if you're too familiar with history, but
pretty familiar.
Japanese people were put into internment camps, Japanese Americans. And so one day, like with this whole agricultural empire, my great-grandpa's assets, bank accounts, everything frozen, detained 2 days later. So detained and thrown into an internment camp. And there's a story on this that like I can send you later if you want to link it, because like people did like an autobiography on him. And so he was thrown into an internment camp over in Arizona. And oh yeah, I guess that's where we are right now.
Yes.
And at the time, like of course, like there were horrible conditions there, and he was in charge of growing food for like that internment camp. He told them that this is great soil. They're like, this is horrible soil. It's not. He's like, no, trust me, this is great soil. I promise you. He started growing food there, and he grew about 200 million pounds of produce in his years there that he received $0 for. And he actually grew so much food that they were having to send the food grown there to other internment camps because there was too much. So, I mean, he's doing all of this. And finally, like, he gets released. And sure enough, like, after that, he goes back. And the farms were in, like, pretty good condition. And he was wondering, like, how is this even possible? He... before all of this happened, he was hiring people, giving people all the help in his community, and he donated 50% of his salary to the church every single year before this. So people took care of his stuff when he left. Mm. And like that shows that when you give, you usually receive a lot more in return. And so like so many people helped out with all that. So after that, he bought some land in Oregon, kept growing that. And then over in Gilroy, California, which is about 30 minutes from my home, he bought a hotel and a hot springs, the Gilroy Hot Springs. Not as an investment property, but he actually made the hotel completely free. And free food, free stay, free everything for any Japanese Americans that lost their stuff after the internment camps. So it was just like a refuge for people to come, live, stay, eat while they got back on their feet. Mm-hmm. And he was super philanthropic, donated running water and electricity to his village in like his home village in Japan. My family has medals from the Emperor of Japan for that. I mean, like, he just gave so much. And I mean, it's crazy. Like, the stuff that he went through, like coming from zero and then bank accounts, assets frozen, thrown into internment camps, like, and then still going on after that. I mean, it was just like mind blown. So hearing that, and then I see that on my mom's side, and I look at my dad's side, and my dad comes from nothing. And then I look at where I'm starting. It's a hell of a lot fucking nicer than them. Mm-hmm. And it makes me think, like, the ratio of where they started to what they did, for me to get that same ratio, I need to, like, own the United States or something.
Yeah, you need to do some crazy
yeah. But yeah, like, it showed me that, like, stuff is possible. Stuff is completely possible. Like, believe in yourself, work hard, work smart, and stuff can happen. Like, it's so fucking possible. So, like, that's why, like, the biggest thing, like, no matter how cliche it sounds, my biggest piece of advice to anyone is just to actually, like, believe in yourself, because you can accomplish so much more than what you think. Mm-hmm. So much more than what you think.
Yeah, and I'm sure it makes it easier on you when your parents tell stories about their grandparents. Mm-hmm. Like telling them about how they did all these things, and you're like, wow, well, my family did it, like, I can do it too. So, I mean, if you're listening and you don't have any family members that have done anything extraordinary, use us as examples, or people on the internet as examples.
Exactly.
And then your generations, your offspring will use you as example, and you'll go down as a legend. Yeah. So it was your mom more the one that taught you about, like, giving and not being greedy then?
I would say that was, like, both of my parents, honestly. Like, their values are very, very aligned. And one of the things, like, my dad talked about was, like, never kick a man when he's down. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
Now, granted, like, if he's down for a really good reason, like, let's say, some dude, like, jumped a bunch of people and, like, fell on the ground, like, and it's your friends, like, yeah, you can kick a man when he's down then. But other than that, like, help people out when you can help out, right? Regardless. Like, if you can help someone, if you can afford it, whether it's the time or the money or whatever it takes, help them out. And have zero expectations for anything in return. Because if you have any expectations, you're setting yourself up to lose, right? So as long as you
come from a greedy place.
As long as you're giving with zero expectations, you can never lose. Mm-hmm. Ever.
Wow. Dude, that's extremely valuable. And it's led you well. As we were talking the other day about the nonprofit, I mean, you've helped me out. You've sent me clients from my agency. You've given me advice. You've just been a good friend in general. Always pick up the phone, just talk, whatever, this and that. And even now, just like, I feel when you were talking to me about your nonprofit, I feel like compelled to do something back. It's not even like I want to get even with you. It's more just like this guy is always, like, here. Like, he's like, I can count on him if I need something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I need to take care of people like that. That's what it is. Like, I need to make sure good people stick around.
Well, that's where all the happiness is in relationships. And I'm not saying relationships in, like, significant other, but I'm saying relationships in general. Your family, very important. Your friends, your significant other, and, like, your acquaintances and the people around you. If you eliminate those, no matter how much you own of whatever, you are not going to be happy. It's people that make our lives better, right?
So are you going to pass down these qualities to your kids? Are you going to have kids?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to have a big family. I mean, I want to have, like, four kids at least. And I know what values I want to raise them with. Now it's just like, I don't know how much I want to give them.
Right. So everything goes well in life. Let's assume that you're very wealthy when that comes. How are you going to use your wealth and raise your kids at the same time? So let me ask you this question first. Your parents, when you were growing up, you guys had money then, right? So you grew up pretty wealthy off after they went through all the shit that they went through.
Yeah.
And you're not a brat. You're not entitled. You're like,
my dad would have beat my ass. Oh yeah.
You're one of the nicest people I know, genuinely. So it's like, there's something very, very valuable that I kind of want to extract from you. Yeah. And I want to know how you grew up to not be such a entitled little bitch, even though you grew up in a wealthy family.
So one day, I think I was like maybe 13, and my dad would never talk about any money or anything. And then I think like he left his tax returns out on the table, and like the kitchen table or something. I forgot to put them up. And he walks out in the kitchen. I was like, holy shit, Dad, we're rich. And he looks at me in the eyes. He says, we're not rich. I'm rich. You're broke.
Yep. This is my money, motherfucker.
And you like, that was like, okay, yeah. That's on point. And so he made damn sure I knew that I was at level 0 still, regardless of what anyone else had. I was at 0. So that was like, he made sure he instilled that in me. I'll tell you that. He definitely made that.
That's good. So what was I going to say? So you didn't know that you guys had money. So does that mean that you guys didn't have like nice cars or a nice house and stuff? Or?
I mean, it's not like clearly like I can put like two to two together. Like, we had a vacation house, like we had a beach house. We have like our home.
Sure.
My grandpa has a few houses, and like I knew about like that, my mom's side of the family business, and clearly like, if I can just like, if my dad's at a C-level position or a senior VP at a tech company, like he's making more than $20 an hour. So it's like, okay, like you can do 2 and 2, pretty simple to put them together. But after that, you don't really need to know like, numbers. And like I remember like I was just curious, so like I'd ask him. He's like, why do you need to know? You have food on your table, you have a roof over your head, but like what else do you need?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit, good point. Yeah, you're right.
It's none of your business. Yeah. Go do homework.
Yeah, exactly.
I always thought that the way I would probably do it with my kids is of course, never, we're young now, of course. Our egos are at an all-time high, and whatever, we're going to talk about money a lot. It's going to be a big part of our lives. When we get there though, and we have wives and kids and stuff, and it's, obviously more important things. I always said that I'd probably just not tell my kid, I'd probably just donate 90% of my money to charity, and tell my kids that and tell my family that. And then that would create this motivation in them, and because they have to go out and have their own life. Like if you want to go make money, I'll teach you how. If you want to go be a doctor, go be a doctor. You're going to have to fend for yourself. When I die, you're not getting what I have. Yep. And then when I die, I'll give it all to them. Yep. That's, I think, what I'm going to do.
Okay.
So if they're watching this now, fuck. Like 30 years from now, I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know. Like raising kids, I think that's going to be harder than any business we've ever built. Times a million.
Most difficult thing you'll ever do is what I hear from parents.
I think like as long as you understand like maybe like 3 main things that they need to have. So 1, my kid will not be a liar. I will tell you that right now. I mean, he will be grounded for years. Like that's one thing. He will not be disrespectful. So as long as he doesn't lie, he's not disrespectful, I think I could honestly like figure out a way to put up with other stuff. But those are like 2 things that I'm not willing to sacrifice like the least amount on, because your kids are a reflection of you. So although you think it's another person, if you're this and your kid is something else and he's out there, that's a reflection of you. So you also have to remember that. But yeah, just making sure that they do not have a chip on the shoulder, and they realize that like, yes, they're your son and stuff, but they're still at level 0, like until they build their own stuff. And so my dad, like one thing that he would always do though, is if I wanted to do something, he would do it for me. Like, he would help me get it started. Like my first business of
as a parent
spray painting, the street address on house curbs.
Oh yeah, I remember.
But yeah, like lemonade stand, simple as that. Like in 6th grade, 100% profit margins, because my dad would pay for the cups and the lemonade mix, and the little table and tablecloth, and I could go out there in the heat of the summer and sell some lemonade to people driving by. But yeah, I think you just need to find like 2-3 things that are an absolute must. Just focus on those, and then from there, you can kind of give and take what else happens after that.
Yeah, man. When do you think that's all gonna happen? When you like
You
get a wife?
That's a funny story.
Pump out some babies.
Yeah, and Darby, if you're watching this, I'm still not sure. I honestly, once like work slows down, I'd say that's the main thing. Like right now, I want a dog. Everyone kind of wants a dog, all this stuff, but it's like I don't even feed myself. Like I'll work till like 7 p.m. and be like, oh shit, I didn't eat today. I cannot have any living thing that needs my care right now. And I want to make sure that like when I do have kids, that I have like the time available to be there and whatnot. I don't want to be like the absent father.
Got you. Yeah, I think that's important.
What about you?
I'm in deep thought now. When I want kids,
mm-hmm.
It's a good question. I don't see a point in waiting too long, as long as I have full confidence in everything else in my life,
mm-hmm.
which at this current time I don't. But I probably, I just need to get some places and do some things.
Yeah.
Not even necessarily financially stuff, but just other stuff to build full confidence. And then when I feel like, okay, I'm good, I'm relaxed, I'm comfortable, probably go out and have kids. I also want a big family as well. I want to have by the time I die, I want to have at least four kids minimum.
So are you sending your kids to college or no?
No, I'm not particular on college. Who knows, bro, what's going to happen in the next 10 years? I feel like every single year is exponentially just more what the fuck. You don't know what to expect these days, bro. I don't know what the world's going to be like in 10 years. But who knows if college will even be a thing anymore, or what it will be like. It'll be so different. But
I really hope education changes, because
dude, I don't even know if it's going to be for the better or for the worse, but it's going to be way different than it is today.
Looking at it's pretty scary how bad the education system is. Oh, it's actually terrifying.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
What people after paying hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s for college, what they can leave with is scary if they do the minimum. And I definitely, I think it's changing. We're seeing more courses were the start of it, right? And then now you have online coding boot camps and stuff where they, you don't pay tuition. They only take a percentage of your salary after you're hired after it. I think that's a really, really cool model. Because it means you're investing your time and resources into these kids. So you're actually going to put effort into making sure that they become, high earners or whatever that means.
Mm-hmm. Colleges they don't pay income tax, those businesses, whatever it's called, educational institutions don't pay income tax. They're extremely profitable, and they don't care necessarily. This depends on the school, but they don't really care about the professors or the results of their customers, kids. If you're happy with the product, you don't really get a fucking say. If you go to college and you be hold up, I want a refund, I didn't get a job for whatever reason, then they're gonna be okay.
But at the same point, I think a lot of people also put too much blame on the college, because if you go there and you put in 100% effort on getting that value out of it, that means you're meeting as many people as you can. And colleges are actually well connected. I was just talking with my partner, Gene Rosenfeld. He's we're working on a real estate thing in Houston, and he went to UCLA. He currently sits on the Zimmerman board of real estate there. He just donated $40 million to them last year. He killed it. Killed it in real estate. He sold his home development company for a little over $1.4 billion. And asking him about college and what he thought, he's giving back to UCLA as much as he can, because he thinks UCLA is what made him.
Really?
So, there's going to be different things, and I also don't like it when people glorify dropping out. So although I did drop out of college, I don't think it should be glorified, because it's a case by case thing. When that's glorified, you're going to get kids that should not be dropping out. If anything, they should be focusing more on what they're learning in college, meeting people, talking to professors, doing more research and all that stuff, and going about it that way. So it's super case by case.
I think at minimum, colleges should be should have more, not a guarantee, but they should, like, nobody's asking the question. Like they should make sure that the kids, or like they should be more selective of professors and go and look through the details of their courses and make sure that they're like prepared. But the problem is when you start paying attention to the little details and about having the right professors and about going and investing in and restructuring a course, that costs money, and colleges obviously want to be very profitable. And now, like we were talking about earlier, like the introduction and the adaptation to credit in our society, it's not quite, it's happening in the other world, but we were the first, and it's like crazy here. Like it's like you can get a loan for anything, bro. And now with like Affirm, right? You can like make payments on a sweater.
Genius, by the way.
Well, it is, but it's also like
I think they
bad. It's like evil, bro.
$100 million, which is absurd. Like them and Cecil raised like over $500 million rounds, like within 2 weeks of each other.
It's just every single thing is more and more and more getting down lower and lower finance. Like maybe one day like you'll finance food. Like it's just crazy, bro. But the thing is, the problem is as we go into the future, things will become online unless the whole world blows itself up. And a lot of the jobs that people work today are going to be replaced by AI or robots. And so I would just say it's really important before you go to college or before you drop out that you get something that prepares you for the future. Not just going and getting some random degree, you know, something very like essential, something that can't be replaced by a robot.
And I think another thing with like colleges and like increasing the quality of their courses, professors, resources, whatever. I think one of the big reasons why they do that is because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I think a lot of colleges actually do have really good resources that are nowhere near taken advantage of. My high school, for example, I went to a great high school, Valley Christian. It's over in San Jose. And if you go there for just the education, you're wasting money because it's, I don't know, like $25,000 a year. You're wasting money because you're getting the same education as anyone at any school. But what they did have was the most insane business and applied math and science program. So, I mean, like, we had experiments on the International Space Station. Like, we had crazy robotics teams, all this stuff. So if you went and you took advantage of those, you got every cent of your money's worth and more. But if you didn't, you just went to a high school. You just went to another high school. So that's the thing is, I think people also need to take more accountability in doing it themselves instead of just like the college saying like, hey, we built this, you need to come here. Like, if they built it, like, it should be up to the kids now to do it. So we had a business program at my high school, like an entrepreneurship program. And honestly, like, that was where like I had like my first like mentor kind of. Her name was Hannah Kim, and she ran the program, the entrepreneurship program. And it was one of the most stacked programs on earth for a high school. I mean, like, the people that they brought in to help us out with that, we had the president of Harvard Business School speaking to us. We had a bunch of huge venture capitalists, Kevin Compton, who owns the San Jose Sharks, all these other people donating their time for free to mentor kids in this. And like 18 kids would do it.
Wow, yeah.
Like, it's because everyone wants to be like the cool kid. Like, you don't want to do like, you know, applied math and science because it's lame. And then they get older and they realize, oh shit, that's where the money's at. But yeah, like, the point is like you can build all of this stuff, but people just might not take advantage of it at the end of the day because people have to take accountability for their, you know, for their own actions. So I think like someone in college can't look back and be like, oh, like, college gave me nothing. Well, it's like, how much did you actually try to get stuff out of that college?
Both sides of the story.
Like, yeah,
it's not like college is completely useless and we're just putting all the blame on them and saying like, come on, like, why am I not rich? Yeah, but it's also, it's like the other side. Okay, you're also lazy. You know, so.
Yeah, so I think it's like a mix of those two. Because in like regarding compensation and what people earn, because that's like a big thing of why they go to college, right? To increase their earnings per year most of the time. Compensation is directly correlating with two things. One of them is unique value that you bring. The second one is the problem that you solve. So the problem that you solve and the unique value that you bring is directly relevant with how much money you make. For example, if you're making burgers at McDonald's, you have zero unique value and you solve a problem that is not important at all because you can be replaced instantaneously. You can buy a robot. So that's the thing. It's like, if you're going to go to college, I'd say like the best advice is like focus on building unique value and working on like figuring out like the problems that you want to solve for a single corporation. Because as you get more specialized, things get more expensive, right? Like lawyers, for example. The best lawyers are extremely specialized, very, 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 very specialized. Doctors, right? Like there's surgeons that operate on like one thing with one technique, and they're the highest paid surgeons in the world. So unique value and the problem that you solve is basically your salary or what you're earning every year, whether you're building it or you're working for someone else who's building it. That's like the simplest math behind it.
Yeah, it is very black and white when you say like that's very binary. Yeah, and most people don't understand that. But like before Amazon, like you buy things on the internet, you buy things on eBay or whatever, and like or you ship something, it's like okay 3 to 5 days for you to buy something from the internet and then to come here, and then you changed 3 to 5 days to 1 day, and it's commonly trusted among the whole world, and it makes it convenient for you. You're solving a problem for the entire world. You become the richest person in the world. Well, up until Elon took that. Yeah. But it's like, I think it's funny though, because you're saying this now, but people complain about people that are really rich, and they just think that they're like, and maybe they are greedy, and like nobody needs that much money. That's the argument they use, and that's fine. I agree, but they have changed the world. And they literally
created a ton of jobs, provided a ton of value,
changed the entire course,
a ton of problems,
our entire society forever.
No, one thing I don't know is what's going to happen when Amazon doesn't want to burn money anymore. So I believe right now AWS is Amazon's only profitable arm. Other than that, they're just going to continue burning money, and
what do you mean?
Rightfully so. I mean like
Amazon doesn't make money shipping packages.
Being profitable is something of the past. Look at all of the big companies. They all have debt. I mean, aside from like Apple, most of all of them are in debt because why would you want profit? Why?
Yeah, you're going to pay taxes.
Exactly. So, let's say you bring in $150 million of profit. Of course, you're going to throw $150 million in right back into R&D, all these different things.
Right.
Because somehow we live in a world now where profit doesn't matter. Uber is incinerating cash. I mean, like, all of these companies are just literally just throwing money into a fire pit, but it doesn't matter. Like Amazon is going to burn money until they basically rule everything. But
what's your opinion on that? Do you think that's ethically okay?
Ethically, yeah, just because like if you don't do it, your competitor is going to do it. And now you're putting yourself at a massive disadvantage.
No, I'm saying blanket. Is that okay for everyone to be doing that? Not a case-by-case thing.
Like running non-profitably?
Right, yeah. Even though you're a massive company, that could otherwise be very profitable.
Yeah. I mean, just because I think like the ethics of it are that, hey, it's legal. Your competitors are doing it. And if you don't do this, your company, like you can't survive as a company. If let's say your competitor is paying 0% in taxes and you're paying 15%.
Well, I'm saying if it wasn't legal.
Oh, if it wasn't legal, no, absolutely not. I mean, then they should all be punished to like whatever extent.
Well, should we push to make like loopholes like that?
The problem is as soon as we make that illegal, we're going to see corporations leaving the United States. We're already seeing corporations leave San Jose to Austin, Miami, all these other places. And as soon as you make something like that illegal, every company is going to be incorporated somewhere else. And then so it's like America's not this same America.
So what if there was...
And they are working to patch that. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with, I believe it's the double Dutch and an Irish sandwich. No. That is like a very, very, very common tax strategy for large corporations. So it basically allows them to pay like 0 to 3% on corporate income tax. Every big company that you know of uses a variation of that strategy, because it basically lets them, another company, hold their IP and license it to them for the exact same amount of like what they're bringing in revenue. So it leads to 0 to 3% in corporate income tax.
I was thinking that it would be more fair and less, it would reduce the amount of like gray area in our economy if we could agree that everyone should pay a similar amount of tax. Because I like capitalism and I understand it. And I don't like socialism or communism. My parents grew up in communism. So I appreciate capitalism, but I don't think it's perfect.
Yeah, of course not.
I think that if everyone paid, and this would obviously have a lot of rules, and there would be, ways you can like play with it and it'd be malleable. But if everyone agreed to pay, let's say 7.5% of tax of their income in tax, regardless if you make 10 grand a year, you're paying 7.5%, or if you make 100 mil.
Yep.
And write-offs could still be a thing, but they would be stricter on it. Like you couldn't buy, I could go buy a G-Wagon right now and it could be a write-off, and I promise you, like, I'm gonna take it out to the club, and people are like, it's a business expense.
It's crazy.
Like it's like it's like okay.
Wasn't doing that last night.
You're right. But like exactly, that's my point. So maybe if everyone, regardless, without removing the advantage or like the rewards of making more money, like you come to America because you want to make more money. There's a lot of opportunity, and then obviously you're gonna not evade taxes, but loophole them and not pay as much taxes and stuff. But if everyone paid a similar percent, regardless of how much they made, it wouldn't remove people's like want to go out and make more money because we're all being taxed the same. But then the problem is,
now what about this? What if you collected taxes only when people spend the money?
When people spend the money, like as in like buying things for themselves?
Yes.
Okay.
What if you tax purchases?
Yeah.
Instead
they
of
do
taxing
tax purchases though,
income.
don't they?
I'm talking
businesses
like
do.
To replace
income tax.
Income tax. Yeah.
Well, then wouldn't people just hoard the money?
Well, then they're just not going to have nice things. So what's the point of having money?
I feel like there's how could you loophole that?
I mean, yeah, you could sit on a ton of cash, but what do you have now?
You could steal.
yeah. I guess you could steal, but you could steal with anything.
Yeah, that's true. Only pay tax when you buy things.
I'm not saying like, hey, this is the way we should do it, but it's definitely an interesting thought.
Dude, no, we have to talk about this. It's important. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's... The thing is, so like, okay, a lot of people don't understand these things. But like a company, like when Amazon's worth whatever, it's not, they think like, oh, Jeff just has 100 bills sitting in his checking account. Well, yeah. Like he doesn't have a fucking, no, he's rich because of his stock. And if he sells that, he's paying tax, personal tax, right? And you can't do write-offs for personal income tax. And there's going to be loopholes in this and self-employed, whatever. I mean, I'm fucking guilty of that. But like you do pay tax when you sell things. You sell your assets. If you sell your stock, you pay tax. If you sell your gains in crypto, you pay tax.
Yep.
So that's the thing is like, I kind of understand now the business thing. It's like, you're not, okay, it makes sense to write off things to grow your business because you're even though when you get paid out, you're going to pay taxes on that. But the thing is you can buy things through your business that are a business expense that you use personally.
Jets.
Okay.
Jets you can write off. I'm pretty sure you could still write off 100% of all costs like associated with private travel.
Right, yeah. And my business doesn't need a McLaren 570S. I don't need that, but like I want one. So that's if we're being completely honest, that's a personal thing that I want. It's not a business thing. Yeah. But actually, to be fair, like I do buy a 570S. I post it on social media, and agency is doing well. It makes people want to work with me because I'm not an idiot. Yep. It kind of is, in some sense.
It is.
It's both.
It's both. But it can be both. It could be some pleasure and some work. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. There's definitely a few holes with capitalism.
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect.
But it is great.
The education system. And like, I mean, one thing, like if like a mass amount of people found out about the 1031 exchange or like what these corporations do, they would like lose their shit. Like the 1031 exchange has been put on the cutting block now with like the Biden administration, the Obama administration. It's not going to go through, of course, because almost everyone in politics probably has a massive real estate
portfolio. All fucking rich.
Yeah, they're all fucking rich, so it's not going to go through. But I mean, like, yeah, like the general population doesn't know about all these.
You really think that they're that ignorant? Like just your average Joe?
Extremely.
They have no idea what's going on.
I don't think they have any clue what's going on. I don't think they understand debt. I don't think they understand a lot of that stuff. Because like, there's probably people that they, you know, like let's say they have $500 on their checking account. They have no debt, $500.
It's like 40%.
And they look at this guy with like a, you know, fucking Lambo, whatever, private jets, hotels everywhere.
Okay.
He took on a massive amount of debt. Like the person with $500 is probably more profitable than he is. He just knows how to play the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
I mean, that's like the whole thing with real estate and like you know, even like exotic car rentals. I was just at exotic car rental place, and like they put like the minimum down payment on an exotic and then rent it out and hope that brings in, you know, the monthly payment plus profit, of course. And they're doing it across like 10, 15 different cars. And that's when the game gets dangerous, because it can go, like, being very leveraged works great until it doesn't. And when that comes to a halt, oh boy, does it's going to hurt. I mean, and that's what like market corrections are good for. They're good for hitting those guys and people, girls, whoever that are over leveraged right on the head. I mean, like in 2007, 2008,
that's what happened with
even
my family.
Coronavirus, like people who were over leveraged, you know, in primarily real estate, like let's say they had barely any equity and like all these different properties, everything's going amazing, turn of an economy, fault. And it just starts going across the board.
Yeah, it's good to be heavily leveraged as long as you have a very positive cash flow source of income, if you can save yourself in those times. Because like right now would be if you had a lot of real estate right now currently, or like let's go back 1 year and you were like really leveraged with a lot of real estate and a lot of debt, but you had like, let's say you made like 5 or 6 times the amount in pure cash that it would require to pay off all those assets per month, and all of this went down with coronavirus and you weren't affected, like you are in one of the best scenarios possible, because now with all the printing and shit, and I was talking to you about this yesterday.
You know how rare that is for someone to be like...
It happens though, but not planned, but it happens by what is it, like default, I guess. You're just in the right place at the right time. Yep. But yeah, it being over leveraged in America is, it's dangerous. It happened to my father in 2008.
Really?
Yeah. He lost a lot of his stuff, because you were telling me your story about your grandpa, and I was thinking about my father. They my grandpa and my uncle, his oldest son, escaped communist Romania on a motorcycle. They were going
badass. That was like so badass.
They drove out of the out of the Romanian country towards Ukraine, because they had people there on the border. They had family close to the border. And they hid the bike and had wire cutters, and they went through the border and went to Ukraine. They were put in a little camp for 2 weeks, and then basically somebody from America sponsored them. Yeah. And my grandpa flew out there, worked for 2 years, and then applied to unite the family. Yeah. So it was legal. Yeah. And then the rest of my family came through, and they started from ground zero, like you explained. I don't know exactly the details, like if they worked for free or whatever, but. Then my father came.
Figured it out.
Yeah, my father came too, and he started with trucking and in construction, and then he was doing construction jobs, and then he built a company. And at one point, he was building a couple houses a year and selling them. And I actually remember this time once he sold a house, and he came back to the car with like a stack of cash, this like thick.
Yeah, just like, hey.
Yeah, in the car, and I was like, I grew up like. Poor, because and before that it was bad, and I don't really remember. And then he was rich, but then he lost everything because he was super leveraged, everything. And then my parents, they also got divorced 5 years before he started making a lot of money. So like, it was insane to see like my father go and like have money, but then lose it all, and then also, having to separate, and then growing up with just my mom and all my siblings. My mom never had any money. Like, it was tough. It was tough because she wanted child support and he didn't have money, and you're my therapist, but but yeah, it's crazy to see like how basically the over leverage thing. It taught me a huge lesson. I'll never be over leveraged, but I will use it to my advantage.
Things can turn quick. As long as like you realize that you're ahead of like most of the people doing it, right? That's the thing.
So how do we get them to know these things? You're empathetic, like you want to give back. Like, how do we help these people?
So, I mean, like there's people that this information would help out, and there's people that this information would be completely pointless.
Comes back down to them, yeah.
At the same time, like money's not happiness. So this only helps people who are really motivated to build companies, right? And like the right way to build them, or to build an investment portfolio or something like that. I don't think it really benefits people other than like the fact that, you know, like at the most basic advice, you could just tell someone like, hey, if you're going to college, like go to college and put in some effort there. Get your money's worth. Meet as many people as you can. Talk to as many people as you can. Use all the resources that are available to you because you pay for that tuition. But I mean, that's very rare. Many people will go to college. They'll pay a ton of money for it. They'll party, 3-4 days a week. They'll show up to class and they'll get by, C's, B's. They graduate and they look back and they're like, college was a waste of money. College was a waste of time.
You didn't do shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, the thing you said about money not being happiness is true, but it's also not entirely true. Money and happiness do have a positive correlation
up until
70 grand. Yeah, 70 grand. So I think that just if you remove like, I don't think people are inherently evil. I don't think humans are inherently evil. When we're children and we know nothing and we're ignorant, we're full of happiness and joy.
Exactly.
It's like, so racism, I believe
racism, all that stuff you're not born with. Like you're taught that.
That's why
like it pisses me off so much because like, who is raising these kids? Like
it's parents.
There's so many times like
raising our kids.
Where I've met people, and after hearing them talk, I'm like, I'll be quiet for the most part. But after hearing them talk, I'm like, who like, someone built this? Like someone built like this. I mean, like I've there's one time for my email marketing agency. I had an onboarding call with this guy, and he gets on the phone and he's like, like what's up, dude? Like I'm running like these stores. I'm like crushing it right now, killing it. Like I was like, okay, great. Like let's get this going. I'm like, okay, this guy's kind of seems like a nightmare already. He's like, oh, like yeah, I have like these dumb like college bitches writing my emails right now. And you could like ask Jason about this. Like I texted Jason. I was like, oh my gosh, I am on a phone call right now, and this guy sucks more than any person like I think I've ever met. Like this guy sucks. And I just remember being so mind blown. And like he's talking so much shit about his own team. And I was like, you do realize like if that's your team building your businesses, you acknowledge the fact that they're not capable of what you're wanting to do, and you keep them there. You're actually the biggest fucking idiot of them all.
You're bragging about it.
And you're bragging about it. And like, I mean, like, and I don't know if I believe in karma. I don't believe in, karma in like that sense. But like, this kid's got it coming to him. I'll tell you that. Karma, we didn't take him on. I was like, yeah, go find someone else, dude. Like,
karma is a thing, but I don't think it's like the spiritual, like the universe. It's karma. It's like, again, like more of a binary thing. Like if you are an idiot and you're going through life and you're not getting checked, you're just getting luckier and luckier. And the probability that you're going to get checked is like, okay, well, it's going to be higher because the longer you go without, like, you're going to eventually do something stupid and it's going to come back and it's going to put you on your ass.
Yeah.
And that's like karma. Like, okay, it makes sense. But yeah, man, it's crazy to see like people are just very shitty people. And it's just a direct result of how they're being.
It's mind blowing because it's like they were taught that.
That's how they're, or not even how they were taught, but how they weren't. It's how they weren't given something that they needed. Like in my take on the guy that you barely said anything about him, but you said he was bragging about having college bitches writing his emails, so like degrading women in a sense. So he was probably like pretty insecure. I would say that comes from some sort of insecurity, which like maybe he's been rejected or some shit. Short break. We were talking about insecure guys, but we don't have a lot of time now. So tell me what you're doing right now so that people that want to follow you, just what are you up to?
So I'd say my main stuff right now is Drop House and Sauce House. We are supply chain and logistics for mostly e-commerce merchants. Drop House 100% for e-commerce. That's just drop shipping supplier. We're currently transitioning to like a managed service. So basically, like, as you know, I mean, with like our experience and everything, like we've all here done millions in e-com sales before, and we know how it goes. And so like the biggest problem that we saw was that you have this business, let's say it's doing $5 million a year. You have a $5 million a year business, and the backbone of that business, the supply chain, is one guy on AliExpress or that you talk to over WeChat who's only awake from like 2 a.m. your time to probably like like early morning, like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever. And he speaks a different language. And usually he doesn't even have your product. He's actually drop shipping it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a $5 million a year business, and the supply chain is a needle, right? You're balancing all this on a needle. And as soon as that goes wrong, payment processor problems, boom, done, out the door, right? Refunds, chargebacks, all this stuff. And that's like a huge flaw in it. And if we looked at like the data on it, and 84% of e-commerce merchants stated their biggest problem was finding and securing a supplier, which is what we assist in. So, or not we assist, that's what we do the whole thing for them. So we have 2 warehouses over in China, great like in-house, like they're all our employees. We have different buyers for consumer electronics, textiles, all this stuff. So over and beyond saving merchants money on like pure cost is like the service. So we fulfill everything same day, 9 to 13 day shipping times right now, like cost effective 9 to 13 day shipping times. And the best part is that we know e-commerce. So a lot of the time I'm able to help out a ton of our merchants increase their AOV conversion rate and get their rev up significantly. Which is like a few minor tweaks. And it's not that I'm smarter than them or that, Jason's smarter than them or something. It's just that like when you spend all time working on something, usually it's just a set of outside eyes that can help and see the things that like you've been failing to see. So loving that right now. We have had like clients of all sizes. So our smallest client was doing maybe 40 orders a day or like, after we got them like running second week. And then we had clients that were getting close to like the 3,000 orders a day range. Wow. 3,000 orders a day, like hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s. So like we work with all different types of that. We're building it out right now. Everything has been like amazing. Like we don't lose clients when their store dies. Their store dies and they are with us after that forever. Every single store they launch is being launched through us. And everything has been amazing. Like we have, like I don't want to like, sound like I'm stroking myself off, and it's not me. It's like the amazing team that I have like with me, building this out, making sure everything's running and stuff. All sorts of custom products. We do custom packaging for all of our people, everything. And we've made maybe like 2 mistakes in total. Recently we messed up on like a light strip. Clearly we're making it right. Like we're getting like the units back, but we do so many things that like a regular agent or anything would do. Like as soon as like, if there's an issue, we're paying for it. We're getting it fixed. So we're not just like, and it shocks people. They're like, oh, like, wow. Okay. Like, thanks a ton. Like, okay. Like this is great. So that's the problem that like we're solving there is like the whole supply chain problem. And I have an email marketing agency with Thaddeus. And basically like the reason we went into that is like I was already running like emails for some people, and I was helping a bunch of people out with their email marketing. And I was good at it. Like for not specializing, like I was pretty good. Like I can get most people's rev above 30% through emails. And Thaddeus like is really good with systems, all that stuff. And then he's like, hey, let's do it. And I was like, let's do it. So we launched. Right now, across all of our clients, we're bringing in 32% of their revenue through emails. We have some clients at like the 36% and higher mark. And it's amazing. We have 0 upfront, zero retainer, a 10-day cancellation policy. So basically, you're not locked into anything at all. And we haven't lost a client, a single client. We've spent $0 on ads. We've had hundreds of leads, as you've seen, because people, they have bad experiences with previous agencies, so they're a little weary. But as soon as they see our model, they're like, okay, this is great. Well, that's a lie. We have lost one client. Well, not yet, but she just messaged us saying that the last date of this month she will be leaving. But it was because she actually had an in-house email team that was like in the Slack chat. We were like a little confused because it's like, if you have an in-house email team, why do you have an email marketing agency?
So that they can copy you.
Exactly. And I realized that. And what we're doing actually is I was like, hey, I appreciate you so much. I was like, can you give us some feedback? And she's like, absolutely. I'll give you guys video testimonials. This was amazing. She's like, the performance, hands down, amazing. And she's like, not only that, I'm hosting a mastermind soon, and I will be sending you guys like as many clients as I can.
Beautiful.
And yeah, and like that's why I wasn't like when she said she's leaving, like because it doesn't make sense for her cost-wise to have in-house emails and out-of-house emails. I completely understood that. And I was like, okay, well, how about this? Let me get like my guys to write a guide to give your in-house email marketing team. So that way, even without us, you can have our strategies and stuff and work on it better that way. And a bunch of people would tell you that that's stupid to do. A bunch of people would tell me that's stupid to do. But after that, she's like, wow, like I don't even know what to say. And she's like, let me try to send you guys like as many clients as I can that are 10 times the size of me. Like this is, wow, like thank you so much. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, like I want you guys to succeed and I want you to do what's best for your business, whether that includes me or that doesn't. So we have almost lost our first client, but I
have a feeling that you're gonna make more money.
But for a good reason. And we're currently trying to transition this email service-based agency into a SaaS product. That's really exciting. Like that's really, really, really exciting. But yeah, it's been great. Like I've this is like my maybe like going into my second year in like service-based companies. Learning a lot about those, and that's why we're transitioning both Drophouse, Saucehouse, and Repl into more of like a managed service or a SaaS, just because like client work gets like exhausting after a while. And it's hard because you need to scale people-wise big, right? So if we want to have 1,000 stores, we're going to need a lot more employees. And, when you have more employees, there's more things that can happen. Quality control is hard. And the biggest thing that we need to maintain is our quality. So that's why we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we can scale to that level with like maintaining the same quality, delivering on the same stuff that we've always been doing. Yeah, I mean, like I have a bunch of agency friends. Of course, you right here. I've referred Sebastian, I think 2 or 3 people now for Google Ads, and they have texted me screenshots of their ROAS and said, please tell Sebastian. I said, thank you.
Really?
Yes. One of them actually just texted me this like right before this when I told them like I was going to be with you. So yeah, like we help our clients out in like every single way possible. We have no like affiliate deals. Like, I mean, like I'm not like, hey Seb, like slide me a check for every person I send you. It's just like, I know all the people who run great services, and instead of me getting an affiliate check, maybe I can get my client a discount instead. So instead of, you giving me $500, I'd rather you give the client $500 off their first month and take care of them that way. Because I think there's more value there too for them. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's been great. Like I've learned, I've talked to like a bunch of people that have just killed it in the service space. Mike and Troy, they run Juice Labs over in New York. I'd say like they've been like helping me out, just like giving me like advice and tips that have been super helpful. And yeah, so doing those two, and then threw a nonprofit in the mix not too long ago, and then I just do like, I don't have real estate right now for passive income. Jason, my roommate, business partner, we sell like PPE supplies and stuff out of our partner's warehouse over in LA. That's like our passive income source. So That's been nice. We have like clearly like the companies we're building. He's building Dough. It's killing it. They just launched an app. Like, I mean, just dominating the space. Like his biggest competitors like are just trying to acquire him left and right. I mean, it's insane. And how fast that growth happens. I mean, as you know, like it's ridiculous. Like all of this stuff scales so fast because you realize that most of the services out there aren't like that great.
They're dog shit.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like we just had a client switch over just for emails. Their previous agency, they're paying a retainer $4,000 a month. They brought in 12% of revenue. That's counting email and SMS. And I was like, look, I'm not like a salesman, but I can personally guarantee you, like not my company, like I myself will guarantee you that we will double that. If we don't, I'll pay you. And it's just like, how do these agencies like keep running? It's like their churn rate must be absolutely insane. And that's why I try to position myself in businesses where there's not like that high client churn rate. And as long as you provide a great service, like you deliver on what you tell them, right? Mm-hmm. So you can provide a mediocre service as long as you tell them that you're providing a mediocre service. That's fine, right? Because they know what to expect and they're going to get exactly what they expect. You will just keep scaling so fast. I mean, like both Drophouse, Sauce House, and Rebel, we've spent $0 on marketing, been well over 7 figures in revenue. A lot of that is word of mouth and referrals. I mean, we get inquiries every single day. Have never ran a single ad. Mm-hmm. And it shows you how big these problems actually are. So that's the cool stuff. And on to like the stuff that like brings me like value is like the nonprofit. But I guess like over and beyond that, what was your first business?
Like not legit business?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Selling like chips.
Okay, well, I used to work with my father. It wasn't a business, so I won't say that. But I was working when I was like 8, 9. My brothers used to do landscaping. They made cards. They used to mow lawn services. We used to plow snow in Michigan, but that was more their business.
What was like your first entrepreneurial thing?
So in high school, they sold muffins. I would buy the same muffins from Costco and sell them cheaper.
I love it.
And then after that, I would buy go-karts on OfferUp that were running but in bad condition. Make them pretty. I would wash them, spray paint them, take off the wheels, like clean them, spray paint them, put like pool noodles on the roll cage, make a couple $100 on that. While I was working at Taco Bell, then I saved up enough money to buy cars. I flipped cars. I had like 6 cars by the time I was 19. And then I got into dropshipping. Looking
back, is it easier than you thought to make money?
Yeah, man, it's
scary easy. Like there's so much money changing so hands.
Yeah.
You just got to put your hand in and just grab a little bit and go from there.
90% of making my first $1 million on the internet was 90% of the thing that I had to, the hard part was accepting the idea that I actually could do it.
That's what I'm saying. Like believing in yourself.
Typing on a keyboard,
yes.
Not like reaching out to clients.
Yep.
90% of the work was
you battling self-doubt.
Mm-hmm, yeah, like it was. And it's your first $10 or your first like $100 is going to be harder than your first like 1,000.
Yeah. And like, but I mean, then again, like that first dollar, I mean, it opens up your mind.
Yeah.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I remember how
you take a step
getting
higher.
that first, like the first like job or position, like when I was like 12, that after I had that, I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm. I remember the day I got my first paycheck for $90 from Taco Bell. And that was the first income I've ever gotten legitimately. And I was like, I could like go buy a pair of jeans for the first time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I can go and buy food. I don't have to ask my friends to buy me food.
More so like the entrepreneurial stuff.
Yeah.
Like you created that dollar.
Right. Right. So like besides flipping go-karts and flipping cars and selling muffins, first online was technically drop shipping. I remember posting an ad on a watch page, selling watches. And on my way to work, told the story plenty of times. On my way to work, I would love to go more in depth, but we have things to do. Yeah. I made $400 that day when I was caregiving. And it's crazy, bro. It's crazy, yeah. And it's one step at a time, but $400 in a day, then $1K in a day, then $2.5K in a day, $5K in a day, $10K in a day, $30K in a day, $60K in a day. And yeah, the future is going to be, I'm excited. Yeah. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just taking small steps, you know, and you build confidence.
It's easier than people think.
It's incredibly easy. And it's, I hope that's not insulting, but it's incredibly easy. If I wasn't so goddamn lazy, I would probably have quite a lot.
Yeah. Like, you know, you just got to like find what your like advantages are and just hammer in on those hard. If we have time, I'd love to tell the story of my first business. So I think like over and beyond that, like there's a lot of meaning behind it.
Of course.
And like that's something that like I have like that has pioneered like everything since then. So
go for it.
I've told you the most part. I don't know how much you remember, but it was painting the street address on curbs. So it was painting the street address on curbs. And with that, it's very simple, right? You know, I had a red radio flyer wagon. It was kind of rusty, but you know, she worked. And spray paint and stencils from Ace Hardware that my mom had bought me. And you know, like the street address, you know, like I just stencil over the old white one, put on the numbers for their address, paint it black, and that was it. And now the thing was, I had almost no advantages. I was 12 years old. I have no skills. Like I have no advantages at all. But my one advantage was that I was 12. And 12, you're a cute kid, right? You're just you know, you're an entrepreneur. You know, you're learning. And it's like that's like the advantage that I was going to play. So started out with my first neighbor right next door. And the biggest reason why people say no is always the price, right? So I took that reason away. So I went out to the first neighbor and I said, hi, you know, it's me, Jeffrey, your neighbor. I'm painting the address on street curbs. I was wondering, like, you know, if you'd like this. And then I was like, you know, it helps first responders see your house when you call 911. Like, that's how they find your house. And he's like, oh, wow, like, that's great. How much is it? And I was like, name your own price. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, name your own price. Like, you tell me how much you want to pay me for it, and I'll go do it. And no one's going to lowball a 12-year-old. like, what kind of guy does that? And he sits back and he's like, shit, because what is he going to say now? So he's like, okay, $20. So I do it for $20. It takes me 10 minutes. I come back, I go to the neighbor's house, Ruth, sweetest lady. I was like, hi, Ruth. Like, you know, I'm painting the street address on curbs, gave her the whole pitch. And, you know, I was like, name your own price. She's like, okay, well, how much did Michael pay you? I was like, oh, Michael gave me $20. She's not going to be the cheap neighbor now. Mm-hmm. So she's like, okay, well, we'll do 20 as well. So I go paint the curb. I'm on to the next house. And this was like these two, like an elderly couple. They were very nice. And so I go up there and I tell them, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. It's name your own price. And he's like, unfortunately, we actually pay someone to like do that professionally every year. That's why like it looks good. And I wasn't even looking at how their street curb looked. Like it could have been like diamond and crushed. I would have no clue.
You were just money hungry, man.
And this guy's like, hey, but like I love the entrepreneurship. She's like, how about this? And he pulls out like this, like a potato bag, like a sack. And he's like, reach both your hands in, grab as much as you can, and that's what you can take. And it's like quarters, dollar bills, fives, all this stuff. So I reach in, I grab them, and I count it. It was like $60.
Damn.
And I was like, holy shit. So fast forward, I go throughout the neighborhood, and keep in mind the reason I was working is because I wanted a bike, a fixed gear bike. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like a fixed gear bicycle. They were huge where I was growing up. Yeah. Every kid had one. I told my dad I wanted one. He's like, great, if you want one, go make some money and buy one. I was like, okay, right. Summer just started. He's like, if you work all summer, you know, you could probably buy a bike after like a month of summer, and you could have it for the next month. I was like, all right, fine, whatever, I'll work. So I go out, and the bike was like $400. Fast forward probably like 4 hours. I've gone through like my block, a few others. I go home. I had made over $400 the first day as a 12-year-old, and I bought the bike that night. And I mean, my close rate, like, I think there was like one person who said no. And like I told you, like there's one person who said no, but he still paid me. He actually paid me more than like most other people. I mean, it was absurd. And like the business model was crazy.
It was good.
Name your own price.
Yeah.
Who does that? But it worked. It worked really well. So the next day, or that night, I called my best friend, Clay Wilson, at the time. And I was like, dude, we're going to be freaking rich, man. Like, get over here. Like, let's go. And he wanted the same bike as me. And so he comes over the next day. The next morning, his mom drops him off, right? And she's like, oh, like, you guys are going to go out today, go. And so we link up, and we go out in the first house we go to. And I keep in mind, I hyped it up so much. The first house we go to, this guy's like, yeah, like, of course. And I was like, name your own price. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah. He's like, $1. And Clay looks at me like I was the biggest fucking liar on earth. And like, I'm like, okay, like, I swear it is not like that, like, at all. And like his doubts were just up, like, beyond anything.
Okay.
But we went through the day. After that day and the next day, he bought the same exact bike as me. And we got the bikes in 3 days of working. And we got the bikes, and then we, rode them around and did everything else we wanted to do. But it's like, you need to play your advantages. If you have advantages, don't put yourself down to the level of someone with no advantages. Just like make it fair, right? Leverage those and play those as hard as you can, whatever they are, because believe that everyone else will be. So don't like hold yourself back from that. So whether like you're someone who comes from like a bunch of money or someone, in this, like everyone has unique advantages, whether it's their perspective on something, they understand something better. Take that advantage and play that as hard as you can, right? And it's going to pay off like so well, whatever that is. And it's like, for like you have a huge personal brand. You're extremely well known. Like everyone knows, like you got so many people into dropshipping, and like you have changed so many people's lives. Like I've had people text me like all the time, like, oh, like, do you know Sebastian? Like, dude, like I was 16. Like I used to watch him. Like he taught me how to like set up a Shopify store and Facebook ads. And like, now I have like an R8 or something like this. But like, yeah, like Sebastian was the one that like started it all. Like I was super poor before that. Like, and now you provide a service, a Google Ads agency that's like, you guys are performance-based, right? And you provide this great service, and you can leverage the fact that like you've helped out a ton of people. You know exactly what you're talking about. You have the best perspective on it because you've had your own stores. You've built stores from scratch. You've helped probably tens of thousands of kids build their first stores too. So it's like you have all of these things, and it's going great for you.
Yeah, huge advantage.
Yeah.
I like it, man. Well, thank you for coming on.
Of course.
Let's leave with that.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect. And Jeff, I think you are an intelligent, smart, hardworking guy.
Yep.
And I have a lot of respect for you. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Of course. Thank you, Seb.